everybody, and welcome back to Blue Jays Today. We're your boys. We always got something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Adam Peddle.
And I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog. Today, we're going to be talking about some moves that the Toronto Blue Jays should consider making. These, honestly, could be a steal for the Toronto Blue Jays, especially at this point of, I guess, the offseason. You know, technically, for some guys, they are still in the offseason, even though MLB literally opening day is what? 3 weeks? Two and a half weeks away at this point, everybody. By the way, March 27th, Amsterdam Brewhouse. Book it, folks. We have a crazy event. We're going to be breaking down some stuff that we think that they should do, and honestly, this could be a game changer for that pitching staff. Before we get into it, please make sure to hit that like, smash the subscribe button, and let us know your thoughts about all this in the comments down below. Let's immediately flash over to this tweet right here from Arden Zwelling. Now, this is in regards to the recent acquisition, actually, Dylan Tate. And if you're familiar with that name, it's because for a very short period of time, the Toronto Blue Jays actually had him on their team. As Arden says right here, the Jays claimed Tate off of waivers from the Orioles last September and called him up later that month. He made 4 appearances and was non-tendered in November. So, I guess obviously, like, they liked him enough to bring him back for a look.
Yeah, and I always thought when they brought in Dylan Tate in the first place, it was a little sneaky dart throw. You know, when he was pitching over there in Baltimore, he had some good years, and of course, he had some bad years. And the last year he was coming off of, besides 2024, was 2022, where he had an ERA of 3.05 and a WHIP under 1. So if you just took that sample size of 73 innings pitched, you're like, okay, you know, he's off for a year, he's injured, he comes back. Can you unlock that at age 30 years old last year? Obviously, in 4 games, it's kind of hard to unlock that with a reliever. But maybe they could unlock something this year in 2025, excuse me. Like, if this is like one of those long, sharp dart throws that if he does access that, then hell yeah, like that's a sneaky deal. And that's why they signed him to a major league deal. He's going to be on the 40-man roster, on the 26-man roster come opening day, hopefully, you know, to that major league contract. So I think they're going to use Dylan Tate in situations that we may not expect. Like, you might see this guy start to, like, kind of fighting for that middle relief, maybe even fighting for like setup role based on where the bullpen is right now. That's where they kind of picture him to be.
Yeah, 100%, man. And honestly, like, this is a dart throw that I'm okay with. However, this podcast is not about this specific dart throw, but the idea that they might be looking at some more guys. We have the 40-man roster up here right now, specifically looking at that bullpen. And as you can see in the starting bullpen, there is no Erik Swanson right now. And the big reason why is because he's got some elbow discomfort. We have no idea how long that's going to, you know, cause him to be out for or not out for. We don't know. But when you look at that thing, it is it's thin to say the least, especially after, you know, Jimmy Garcia. Even you could even argue Jimmy Garcia is a little bit of a dart throw in his own right. So with the recent acquisition of Dylan Tate, it is pretty clear that the Toronto Blue Jays, they are still actively looking outside the organization right now, looking to see, is there anyone else that they can add? And we found a couple guys that we think might make sense.
Yeah. There's a lot of free agents still out there, but obviously some are better than others, and a lot of them are old. But if you can look past the age, there's some little good nuggets there still remaining in free agency. One name that keeps coming up in all of our comment sections is Mr. David Robertson. This guy is 39 years old. He's actually going to be turning 40 very, very soon, so he'll be joining the 40-man club if he comes to Toronto Blue Jays.
Hopefully the 40-man roster, too.
Hopefully 40-man roster. He will join the 40-man age club if he comes to Blue Jays with Mr. Max Scherzer, but we look past that for those bullpen arms, because last year he had a 3 ERA and a WHIP of 1.111 in 68 games, 72 innings pitched. That's a lot of innings for a bullpen guy at that age, so you know he's going to be reliable. You know he's most likely hopefully not going to get hurt. And look at even the past, too. Even in 2023, he was a reliable bullpen guy. So honestly, for me, this is the easiest plug and play. He is now right there with Jimmy Garcia, you know, with Chad Green, fighting for those kind of setup man roles. And I don't know what the Blue Jays would be doing right now if they weren't signing him right now. I mean, maybe there's some competition, because obviously in spring training, a lot of teams experience injuries, and Blue Jays are one of them. So maybe they're kind of going under the table, talking to him right now that's we're not really being hearing of, that maybe a lot of teams are trying to get David Robertson on. But I hope to God the Blue Jays are one of those teams. because this is a smash deal.
Yeah, 100%. This would be a steal at this point for sure. David Robertson has been elite in his career as a bullpen arm. I love the strikeouts right there. 72 innings pitched, 99 strikeouts. Usually you see like when guys get older, it's like some of those strikeout numbers start to come down a little bit. Maybe that's because the velo's not there anymore or what have you. Their pitching style changes. That's just not the case at all with David Robertson. Like, he's got all the stuff in his arsenal still working like right as it used to be, 10 years, 15 years ago. The fact that he's not signed already is actually kind of baffling. Maybe it is because, he is kind of up there in age. He's getting a little picky with things. But this is somebody that, quite honestly, would immediately, like, in my opinion, like, that's another Chad Green for us.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I'm saying,
somebody
right?
that's like right up there, like being really, really good, right behind Jeff Hoffman. That would be a major acquisition for these Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, 1.7 WAR from the guy last year. Like,
that's second on our team. Like, that when you want to talk about setup guys, like, boom, that's your guy right there.
That's your guy. That's immediately your guy. And then it's like, okay, when Erik Swanson does come back, all right, well, now you can do the seventh inning, or, it starts to become a lot more luxurious for these Toronto Blue Jays.
Right, and now you're looking at a deeper bullpen, too. Like, let's say they are all healthy and fully, doing their best stuff at their elite level. Then you got Hoffman, Chad Green, you got Mr. Robertson, and then Jimmy Garcia. Like, that's a solid, and Erik Swanson, that's a solid 5 dudes right there, and that bullpen completely changes. So, honestly, Toronto Blue Jays need to, like, get this deal done. Like, I know, and that's why I kind of brought up, like, there's got to be competition right now, because I don't know why you wouldn't be smashing that deal.
And I was genuinely thinking to myself, it's like, okay, well, does David Robertson even want to play baseball anymore? Because, that's the only thing that I was thinking as to why he might not be signed already, because he's considering retirement. That's not the case. We looked into it. He is right now still wanting to come back to MLB, so quite honestly, like, he is going to go somewhere. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it's the Jays. Now, if they miss out on him, there are a couple other options that still would be really, really good. Hunter Strickland, this is a name that we want to bring up right now. Not quite as good as a year as David Robertson last season, but still, you're talking about 73.1 innings out of that bullpen. Solid whip from the guy, a low ERA. He's 36 years old right now, and this is somebody who, similarly to David Robertson, should be rostered come opening day.
Yeah, and if you're wondering again, like, is this guy planning on retiring, excuse me? Well, he actually did retire a couple years ago in 2023, but he came back.
So that's not for me.
No. Hey, maybe he realized, maybe I got to go make a few more bucks, Sometimes they build up their lifestyles. They got to go get a little bit more money,
He had a couple too many triple bogeys on the golf course.
Exactly.
Said, you know what, man? Baseball's my sport. Let me come back to it. And honestly, put together a really nice year after being retired for a season.
He did. And then he claimed afterwards he does want to make a return to the big leagues in 2025. And again, he's healthy. He's ready to go. You're looking at the WAR too right here with the whip and the ERA. Again, this is a guy that would be in the mix between that Jimmy Garcia, Chad Green area. Like right there. And again, he's still at 36 years old. So if you're really worried about age, you really shouldn't, because a lot of pitchers go, especially bullpen guys, into their late 30s. Again, another guy that I'd prefer David Robertson, but if we don't get him, is anybody even looking at Hunter Strickland right now?
Right.
I would be.
Yeah, 100%, dude. Like, these are two quality guys that, again, baffling to me that they are not on a roster. And I want to make it very clear as well, we're talking about a 1-year deal. It's not going to break the bank. I mean,
$5 million, $4 million for Strickland, maybe.
Right?
Maybe.
Like at this point of the quote-unquote off-season, David Robertson would probably be a bit more than that. Maybe you have to get into the double-digit range, but to convince him to come over here. But still, that would be money very well spent. One more guy that we want to bring up right now, and honestly, this makes a lot of sense for the Toronto Blue Jays because we've seen them do this before.
Hey guys, time for a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video. Hit your picks and knock it out of the park with Betway. Scan the QR code down below or click the link in the description to join the action. Available in Ontario only, must be 19 years older to participate, and guys, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content.
Brooks Raley. Adam, right before hitting the record button, brought up to me, it's like, this guy reminds him a lot of Chad Green.
Yeah, lefty Chad Green.
Lefty Chad Green. And the reason is because, I mean, he is a talented pitcher in his own right, but you wouldn't expect to see him back until mid-season, similarly to what we had happen last year with Chad Green. He went under the knife last year, got Tommy John. It was in May when it happened, and right now he is aiming to be back midway through the season. We've obviously seen them do stuff like this before, bring somebody in and then have him kind of reinforce that pen when, you know, some other guys are getting fatigued. When you're talking about, you know, budget options, like what? $2 million for this guy at a 1-year deal? Like, it'd be nothing.
Yeah, and I mean, in the years past, you know, he had a 2.80 ERA, 2.68 ERA, and like the whip under 1, whip at 1.2, and then in the 8, you know, or 7 innings, excuse me, that he did pitch in 2024, under whip, no ERA actually.
Yes, yeah.
So point being is like, look, you could sign this guy for really low, really cheap, and yeah, it wouldn't solve your problem right now. That's the one downside. You wouldn't be solving the Erik Swanson situation. You would have to trust on like a Dylan Tate or a Ryan Yarbrough to step up and get you some innings in that bullpen. But at least halfway through the season, you'll get a pleasant surprise of Brooks Raley, just like the Blue Jays got when they got Chad Green. Now, granted, we did see the downside of that with the Chad Green situation, where he actually didn't perform that well when he came back midway through the season. I mean, especially Mr. Brooks Raley coming back at age 37. How is he gonna perform coming back in like what, July of this year? You know, getting thrown right into the action when everyone's up to speed. You know, that's a little bit of a wild card right there, but hey, at least it's a dart throw that would, what, like you said, cost you like what, $2 million?
Yeah,
maybe?
that's the thing. Like, honestly, I don't know how much how much it's gonna cost at all, really. And what's the alternative? You know, you just take him and
Zach Pop.
That's the thing. Like, you take him and you start him out in the situation where Zach Pop is going to find himself in as the lowest leverage guy. And then, okay, like, if you are the Brooks Raley that we remember you to be, well, now we get to move you up. And if you're not, well, then you're just the new Zach Pop, and we don't care, right?
Yeah.
So honestly, it's just only upside right now for these Toronto Blue Jays. If they wanted to go out and they wanted to get one of these guys, I think it makes so much sense, especially with an early injury on in the pen and a high leverage guy. We do not want to get, like what's happened in seasons past, get behind the 8 ball, if you will, with that bullpen early, because then they start getting fatigued, more guys gets injured. It's a domino effect. It starts to snowball. Go out, address the problem immediately, bring in one of these vets, and we're chilling.
Yeah, we saw the downside of what could happen if you have guys, top-end guys, get hurt early on in spring training and in this season. We saw it last year with Romano and Erik Swanson. If you let it happen again, I mean, we're looking at another bottom bullpen in all of baseball. I wouldn't want that to happen.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that to happen.
And quite honestly, David Robertson, somebody of that caliber, I mean, there might even be a situation where he's closing games for you, you know, by season's end. If you know, shit hits the fan, right?
You know, well, like if, knocking on wood, like Jeff Hoffman goes down, because that's the other thing too, right? We're one more injury of those top guys away from last year's bullpen, is what I'm kind of alluding to,
yeah,
right?
Of course,
so
of course.
we need that reinforcement.
Get the insurance, everybody. If you're all in, then put the chips in the middle and go all in. But folks, you guys let us know in the comments down below. What do you think about these potential moves? Do you like them on the Toronto Blue Jays? Please hit that like, smash the subscribe button. $4 a month, become a Patreon member. I didn't think of all of our current YouTube members and our Patreon members. You guys are awesome.
Guys, thank you so much for watching.
And as always,
go Jays, go!